News tickers flash across the globe: New York, London, Berlin, Sydney, all reporting the same thing. Western leaders are flocking to Beijing. The world's attention is fixed on a single city, as if history itself is being rewritten in real time. German Chancellor, French President, US Treasury Secretary, one after another, they arrive in China. The list keeps growing, with ministers, advisors, and diplomats from every major Western nation making the journey. This isn't routine diplomacy. It's a sudden, urgent pivot, a dramatic shift in tone and tempo, as if the world's most powerful nations have realized they can't afford to wait any longer. The world is watching, asking, why now? What's pulling them all toward Beijing? Is it opportunity, necessity, or something more? The optics are striking. Jets landing, red carpets, honor guards, every handshake broadcast live. The spectacle is carefully choreographed, sending a message of both welcome and power. For years, the story was decoupling and tension. Today, it's engagement, maybe even desperation. The mood has shifted from confrontation to cautious optimism, but the undercurrents of rivalry remain. Western capitals are buzzing with a new urgency that leads straight to China. Behind closed doors, officials scramble to adapt strategies and respond to fast-changing realities. This isn't coincidence. It's the result of mounting economic and geopolitical pressures. Supply chains are strained, markets are volatile, and global alliances are being tested like never before. The tough talk of confrontation has quietly shifted to dialogue and cooperation. Old rivalries are being set aside, at least for now, in favor of pragmatic engagement. These leaders aren't here for photo ops. They're on a mission. Every conversation is loaded with stakes, every agreement hard-won. They know that global problems, economic stability, climate change, can't be solved without China. The world's biggest challenges demand cooperation, no matter how uneasy. The stakes are high. Each visit is a balancing act between domestic skepticism and the need for cooperation. Leaders must weigh public opinion at home against the realities of global interdependence. Leaders must navigate trade deficits, human rights concerns, and security threats, all under the world's scrutiny. Every move is analyzed, every word dissected by critics and supporters alike. Is this a genuine attempt to build bridges, or just a temporary truce in a larger struggle? The motives are complex, and the outcomes far from certain. The real story is more complicated than the headlines suggest. Beneath the surface, alliances are shifting, and new rules are being written for a changing world order. It's about power, money, and survival in a rapidly changing world. Every decision made in Beijing could ripple across continents, affecting billions. The drama is palpable because the future is uncertain. The stakes have never been higher, and the world is watching every move. The world holds its breath as the West turns to Beijing, waiting to see what comes next in this new diplomatic gold rush. The recent visitors to Beijing are a who's who of Western leadership. German Chancellor Scholz led a delegation of industrial giants seeking to secure Germany's economic future in China. French President Macron followed, pushing for Europe's strategic autonomy and a distinct voice in global affairs. Even Australia's Prime Minister made a landmark trip to thaw years of icy relations. US officials too have made repeated visits, balancing security concerns with economic necessity. This isn't just about national interests, it's a collective acknowledgement of a new global reality. The unipolar moment is over. China is now a central pole of power. The West is taking its first steps toward a more complex, competitive, and cooperative strategy with China. At the heart of this diplomatic rush is money, cold, hard economic reality. Western economies, still reeling from recent shocks, need new engines of growth, and China's market is unmatched. German cars, French luxury, American tech. China's demand is immense, and losing access is unthinkable. The numbers are staggering. Trade with China is worth hundreds of billions annually. For export-driven economies like Germany, China is indispensable. CEOs lobby leaders to keep trade flowing, while global supply chains remain deeply tied to China. Decoupling sounds good in speeches, but in practice, it's nearly impossible and prohibitively expensive. This dependency gives Beijing leverage, forcing Western leaders to be pragmatic. The visits are about frank conversations, market access, fair play, and avoiding trade wars. It's a high-stakes economic game, with national prosperity on the line. While economics often drive these high-profile visits, the underlying forces of geopolitics and security are just as crucial, sometimes even more so. Every handshake and summit is a move on a much larger board, where nations weigh not just trade, but influence and power. The ongoing war in Ukraine has made China's influence on the world stage undeniable. Western leaders now look to Xi Jinping, urging him to use his leverage to push for peace and, crucially, to avoid providing any support to Russia's war effort. The stakes are global and every conversation matters. When it comes to North Korea, China's leverage is absolutely essential. Stability and the hope for denuclearization in the region depend on Beijing's willingness to engage and influence Pyongyang's decisions. Iran's nuclear ambitions are another flashpoint. Once again, China emerges as a key player, holding sway in negotiations and shaping the outcome of international efforts to prevent nuclear proliferation. The United States can no longer count on automatic support in global forums. Today, building effective coalitions requires China's buy-in, making Beijing an indispensable partner or rival on nearly every major issue. The world is shifting before our eyes. China is no longer just a rising power, it has firmly established itself as a global superpower, shaping the rules and setting the pace of international affairs. The strategy among Western nations is evolving. It's no longer about simply containing China's rise, but about managing a complex relationship. Competition must be acknowledged and managed, not ignored or wished away. The ultimate goal is clear: prevent open conflict, identify areas for cooperation, and keep the intricate game of geopolitical chess from spiraling out of control. Every move is calculated, every alliance reconsidered. Western leaders understand that they must play this game, whether they like it or not. The stakes are too high to sit on the sidelines, and the consequences of miscalculation are global. Ignoring China is no longer an option. The world's future depends on how this game is played and who makes the next move. Security concerns loom large, especially over Taiwan. Western leaders warn against unilateral changes to the status quo, urging peace and stability in the region. China's military modernization is shifting the Indo-Pacific balance, raising anxieties from Tokyo to Washington. Open lines of military communication are essential to prevent accidents and escalation. Cybersecurity is another battleground. Western leaders press China to curb cyber espionage and respect digital norms. Alliances like AUKUS and the Quad are strengthened, but must be balanced with engagement to avoid provoking China. The diplomatic visits aim to reassure and find equilibrium, protecting interests without pushing China into a corner. It's a delicate, increasingly difficult balance. Picture the scene: a Western leader and President Xi, behind closed doors, moving from polite greetings to the heart of tough negotiations. The atmosphere is thick with anticipation, as both sides know what's at stake. Every gesture, every word, is carefully measured, setting the tone for what's to come. Trade imbalances, market access, and regulatory barriers are laid bare on the table. The Western leader pushes for fairer terms, while Chinese officials defend their policies, each side presenting data and arguments with unwavering resolve. Xi listens intently, then reminds his guest of China's vast opportunities, if they're willing to be patient, reliable partners. He emphasizes the long-term benefits of cooperation, hinting at rewards for those who play by China's rules. The conversation shifts to Ukraine, pleas for peace, measured responses, and subtle reminders of China's own interests. The Western leader urges action, but Xi's answers are cautious, always mindful of China's global position. In another room, U.S. officials debate technology and security, each side accusing the other of unfair practices. The discussions are sharp, with both sides defending their national interests and technological ambitions. The talks are tense, progress incremental, but the act of talking itself prevents breakdown. Even small steps forward are hard-won, and every concession is carefully weighed. Modern diplomacy with China is about hard bargaining, not grand breakthroughs. It's a process of constant negotiation, where patience and persistence are as valuable as any agreement. It's about managing differences, finding small areas of agreement, and avoiding disaster. Success is measured in stability, not sweeping change. The real work happens away from cameras, in careful, calculated exchanges. Here, trust is built slowly, and every word is weighed for its impact. Each side tests red lines, seeking leverage in a world of contested power. The boundaries are constantly shifting, and both sides are alert to any sign of weakness or opportunity. Success isn't measured in treaties, but in the avoidance of crisis. The ability to keep talking, to keep the doors open, is itself a victory in these uncertain times. This is the new normal of global diplomacy, a world where dialogue, patience, and careful strategy are the keys to navigating an increasingly complex international landscape. From Beijing's perspective, the influx of Western leaders is a vindication. China weathered years of criticism and now hosts those same critics, seeking cooperation. State media frames these visits as proof of China's indispensability and the West's failed isolation. President Xi is cast as a global statesman, calmly receiving foreign dignitaries. China engages from a position of strength, refusing to be lectured on internal affairs. Beijing uses divide and conquer, offering better deals to Europeans who show independence from Washington. Each visit is a chance to weaken Western unity and encourage Europe's strategic autonomy. China wants engagement, but only on its terms, open for business, but uncompromising on core interests. The message: the West needs China as much, if not more, than China needs the West. These visits reflect a global order in flux. The era of rigid alliances is fading. Multipolarity and fluid coalitions are the new norm. Nations now compete, cooperate, and remain neutral, sometimes all at once. The West strengthens alliances like the Quad and AUKUS. While China expands its own networks, the Global South has more options than ever, with China offering alternatives to Western influence. Global challenges, climate change, pandemics, force even rivals to cooperate. US and China must work together on existential threats, despite fierce competition elsewhere. Western leaders must reassure allies while engaging China, a balancing act that defines modern statecraft. The procession to Beijing signals adaptation to this complex world. Engagement, not isolation, is now the only responsible path forward. Where does this new diplomacy lead? The future is a crossroads. One path managed rivalry, with dialogue and cooperation preventing conflict. Another, talks fail, divisions deepen, and the world fractures into competing blocs. Or a hybrid messy coexistence, with constant negotiation and shifting alliances. The stakes are enormous. These choices will shape the century. The leaders flying to Beijing are at a historic crossroads. Their decisions will determine whether we face shared prosperity or dangerous rivalry. The world watches and waits.